up, guys and gals? Me, Mudahar, and every time Netflix takes an L, it's like monumental, ladies and gentlemen. Gosh darn. Now, today we're going to be dipping our toes into the bit of the old culture, if you will. Now, Netflix, beyond releasing Cuties, which is a big L. Publishing it. The Zootopia nonsense and Resident Evil. The fact that I watched through, literally 90% of that show and got nothing in return other than the late Lance Riddick's amazing portrayal as Wesker. And then, of course, the password-sharing nonsense. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're looking at Queen Cleopatra, which has managed to do something that I honestly did not see coming. You got Season 1... 13% on the tomato meter, and then, ladies and gentlemen, a 1% on the audience score. Now, Queen Cleopatra was an interesting show. I saw it a couple weeks back, pissing off the old culture boys and historians, because apparently they had to race swap or whatever you call it, with Cleopatra. Now, generally speaking, I didn't know that Cleopatra had really a known, identity. I usually thought that being 2,000 years old. Now, when it comes to things like this, historical accuracy is pretty important, especially if you're, a show that wants to be historically accurate. Now, of course, when it comes to Cleopatra, there's a massive racial debate. Some people have said that obviously this person is more Greek, Macedonian. They've got lighter skin than usual. Now, again, you can imagine that Egyptian records weren't exactly as well kept as they are nowadays. But, for a show that's about historical accuracy, when they brazenly just do not give a shit about actually trying to match it as historically possible as they can, rather just being very, liberal with the actual, plot threads, if you will, being liberal with the sort of descriptions of these characters. Obviously, no one is going to give a fuck about watching your show, all right, for historical accuracy, especially when, if you wanted to make a show about African queens and black queens, if you will, there were actually a fair amount of others. There were other pharaohs, too, if you wanted to tap into them as well, which, again, I don't know why Netflix didn't do. I'm pretty sure they realized Cleopatra was more popular than everyone, which is why they stuck down that route. Now, reading through some of these reviews are wild, okay? So to understand, we've got some critic reviews. Here's one from the Indian Express. The surface-level docudrama that often slips into Mills and Boone territory. Netflix's Queen Cleopatra tells the legendary monarch's tale with the dramatic heft of a Wikipedia article. Yikes! God damn, that is painful. Jesus Christ, they were not having a good one. As a pure drama, it would all have been absolutely no worse than plenty of other things, albeit not good ones. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was a top critic right over there. Now, of course, the audience themselves also didn't like it. If you like bad acting, this is your thing. It's a historical documentary, okay? None of them ever have good acting. I challenge you to find me one historic docudrama that actually has good acting. I challenge you, ladies and gentlemen. God damn. They made Caesar submissive to Cleopatra. Have you seen their statue? Cleopatra's family wasn't even a beautiful family. The Ptolemy hijacked Egyptian culture literally and pretended to be 2,000-year-old pharaohs. All right, boys, every historian's come out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Egyptologists, yes, that's a real thing, by the way. Egyptologists study all aspects of ancient Egypt that they can across periods from 7,000 BC to the early Middle Ages. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there's a historian for everything. Now, Queen Cleopatra, when I saw this trailer over here, ladies and gentlemen, I knew it wasn't actually going to be a good situation. When you go on YouTube, you got 30K likes, but if you have the extension, 409,000 dislikes. Yeah, a month ago, it seems like not a lot of people are having it. If you ever want to see, when a video gets really nuked, comments are turned off. Now, obviously, you got podcasts going, Cleopatra was not black, okay? Why are you they are stealing my culture? So, of course, I wanted to see some of this, and beyond just some of the worst CGI I've ever goddamn seen. I mean, shit, just use Assassin's Creed footage. It's a documentary series about African queens, okay? Now, to understand, I really don't like to get into, the whole racial dynamics. I think it's cool when you have people of different races portraying characters. It's fine. It doesn't really bug me whatsoever. I don't really get the hype behind it. But generally, when it comes to a historically accurate series, you should try to make sure that the people you're casting match as close as they can to the historical characters. I mean, if you're trying to go for historical accuracy, quote unquote, maybe that should be something you're hitting. But it's the same reason I don't watch the History Channel of all things, because, when they started talking about alien invasions and stupid shit like that and trying to pass it off like history, I don't care, okay? Like, at the end of the day, historical documentaries, like 99% of them are actually garbage. If you have reading comprehension, go read a fucking book, okay? It's a lot better than the television shit they give you. Now, initially speaking, I thought, damn, maybe this show might actually be decent, but of course, it gets really scary when you look at Jada Pinkett Smith being the executive producer on this one. Yeah, if that name sounds familiar, the Smith family, yeah, you knew it wasn't gonna be that good. Now, of course, things are bad when the infographics show has to fact check you 4 days ago with the real origin of Cleopatra Queen. Now, of course, to understand, I was looking into it, and these guys were like really deep diving into the blood pattern analysis of the genealogy for Queen Cleopatra, okay? They were going into the idea of, ladies and gentlemen, maybe we should understand that this person is of Macedonian descent, and their racial characteristics isn't as easy as being black. To be honest, I kind of find this to be a bit offensive too, if the entire idea is because Cleopatra was in Africa, then they would just immediately have to be black. If you actually understand anything about Africa, it's an entire continent with about thousands and thousands of years of human history behind it. In fact, some of the earliest human settlements were literally from Africa. Africa has consisted of tons of tribes, of Arabs, of Central Africans, South Africans, so on and so forth. They have a massive amount of history, and of course, to simply, simplify it to this point isn't exactly the smartest thing to do. Now, even looking at Netflix's series, Queen Cleopatra, hell yeah. Number 6 in TV shows today. Okay, first off, can we stop this Netflix shit? Okay, can you stop putting the goddamn, medal on yourself? It's like the one Obama meme where, Obama's putting the medal on Obama, congratulating themselves. This show is exciting! That's all you gotta say, Netflix. The show ain't worth watching, let me tell you. Now, it's about 4 episodes. Each of them are 48 minutes long, so if you got 2 hours to kill, give it a watch, all right? Judge its, production quality, so on and so forth. But then, of course, let's go actually look into what Cleopatra was doing. Now, all the way back from the science and tech section of the most lauded DailyMail.com, it kind of kills me to be reading this one. 2008, from Elizabeth Taylor to Sophia Loren, there have been many faces of Cleopatra, but this might be the most realistic of them all. Yeah, this PS2 rendering from the Image Foundry Studios, it's 2008, okay? I gotta stop being an asshole. This is what they kind of clarified that Cleopatra was supposed to be. And I went back to 2008 just so we could get rid of all the, Netflix biases that would have existed. Back then, Blockbuster was still a thing, okay? So this is as scientific as we're kind of getting here. Dr. Ashton of Cambridge University said the images to be broadcast as a part of a 5-episode documentary, you mean? On Cleopatra? Okay. And of course, they're looking at images of Cleopatra on the wall of Dendera, okay? So ladies and gentlemen, Cleopatra is a character that's been portrayed by numerous individuals. Hell, I would argue that the more accurate portrayal than this Netflix television show that I watched was straight out of Assassin's Creed Origins, believe it or not, okay? This is Cleopatra, no joke. Just listen to her real quick.
Throne rots in the hands of my brother. Instruct Foxidus to prepare ship.
Now, don't get me wrong, Cleopatra might be a baddie in this one, but she certainly is of mixed race, it seems. Also, the other reality is, I always hate it when a video game, and not dogging Ubisoft specifically, how is it that every time we have to portray monarchy, it always has to be a British accent? Come on now, okay? Gamers aren't that fucking stupid, Ubisoft. Jesus Christ. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is one example I wanted to bring up when goddamn Assassin's Creed is somehow more historically accurate. A game with sci-fi characters and planet-ending stories. Yeah, that franchise is somehow more historically accurate than what Netflix and God knows how many millions of dollars produced to shit out. Now, it's even wilder is the amount of research that has gone on is disproving Netflix into it too. So here's one from like Netflix's Cleopatra criticized in Egypt over skin color. Yeah, Egyptians are getting mad over it too. Which doesn't surprise me. Obviously, Egyptians probably know their history and lore a lot more than the rest of the goddamn world. But of course, you've got other portrayals like Elizabeth Taylor, for instance, over here from 1963. I'll be honest, Chief, I don't even think this is supposed to be Cleopatra either, okay? One of the reasons I'm also making this video is I'm replaying Assassin's Creed Origins. It's a great game. God damn, dude. Impressive work, Ubisoft, right there. Shit. But of course, why? The leading role has been taken on by Adele James, who is, as she describes herself in an interview with the UK's Express, a biracial woman. Egypt's identity erased. Egyptian lawyer Mahmoud Al-Samari filed a complaint. No way, dude. Filed a complaint against Netflix over this? God damn. With the public prosecutor's office stating that the streaming service should be blocked. I'll be honest, should have filed it when they released Cuties, but I guess, okay. I guess this is worth filing the report over literal softcore child you-know-what. God damn. We really have our priorities straight. I would personally argue goddamn boycotting Netflix and removing them from operating in my country over what they did to Resident Evil, but Jesus Christ. Historians, amongst them the Egyptologist and former ministers of antiques Zahi Hawass, said Cleopatra was Greek, meaning she was fair-skinned, not black. Ooh. Egypt's Ministry of Antiquity also got involved in the controversy, publishing a lengthy statement quoting experts who all agreed that Cleopatra had white skins and Hellenistic features. For Mustafa Waziri, the head of Supreme Council of Antiquities, the portrayal of the famous queen as black is nothing less than a falsification of Egyptian history. This is not racist, he says. It is merely to defend the history of Queen Cleopatra. Now, again, it's one thing when the Egyptians are pretty hard-pressed. Obviously, as somebody that's not Egyptian, I don't really have the same level of emotional candor that they would have, given that this is obviously their history. I guess the logical equivalent would be if Netflix made an entire history on, like, Indian kings and queens, and all of a sudden they started, like, getting real loosey-goosey with the historical accuracy, and sort of omitting certain things, which actually, if you wanted to get into a really, really serious topic, is actually a pretty big problem in India right now, given that history revisionism is currently one of the biggest problems, in regards to the politics over there, which is not something that obviously I, nor anybody, should be completely okay with. But obviously this is a bit lighter. This is obviously Netflix just making a drama series out of it. But when it comes to historical, pieces like this, it's always unless you're like some sci-fi like show or something, like if you're going for historical accuracy, I think it should be a requirement that you should absolutely hit the basics right in this case. At least that's what my opinion is. I even looked through the Britannica dictionary about this too, and based on a lot of the information, nobody, from what I understand, truly has a proper idea, just because this was super old information anyways. People have always theorized kind of what Cleopatra looks like, however pleasing they might have been, were ancillary to her considerable intelligence, learning, foresight, and strategic skills. The image of her as a sultry seductress likely stems from a narrative originally published by Octavian to rationalize his rivalry and conflict with fellow Roman Mark Antony, who was portrayed as having been manipulated by a foreign temptress. What's more, casting Cleopatra as an evil beauty conveniently downplayed her competence and significance as a ruler. Yeah, I actually kind of believe that, to be honest with you. She was an incredibly smart, talented individual, and obviously, when you attach beauty to something, people really do take away a lot of the talent somebody might have if they just appear to be some dumb ditzy seductress, if anything. So some succubus, if you will. To be honest with you, alright, reading into this, honestly, I couldn't give a shit about Cleopatra, but if anything, this kind of a backlash has made me look into her history more than I really should have. That and playing Assassin's Creed Origins, which I highly recommend you should play if you haven't given that game a try. Now, of course, one thing that happens is obviously there's some backlash from the show creators themselves. So even the actress for this came out and pretty much says, if you don't like the casting, don't watch the show, or do, and engage in expert opinion different to yours. Now, I can absolutely understand why the actress would be mad. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's her fault for taking this role. She was given a job and she did the job. And whether she was a great actress or not, it is what it is. She checked all the boxes and they made a show. Now, of course, obviously, she's kind of responding to a lot of like racism that was sent her way in like Twitter DMs and like public like comments, which obviously would piss anybody off. So I'm not even holding her against it at all. And nor should anybody. But of course, where it gets into it is like Jada Pinkett Smith losing it too. There is no doubt among scholars that Cleopatra was Macedonian Greek on her father Ptolemy's side. But since the ethnic origin of her mother is not known, some historians say it's possible that the Egyptian ruler's mother was African. So yeah, I guess they were taking some extra liberties on Jada Pinkett Smith's side. Last week's trailer drop caused quite a stir in Egypt. And obviously, I would expect so. Egyptians know their lore well, more so than anybody else, really. So, of course, if they were getting mad, I'm not even surprised. Clearly, this is just Netflix and Jada Pinkett Smith sitting out from Hollywood, basically solidifying or rewriting history just for Netflix, just to make a compelling show in their eyes. If anything, the best memes that come out of this shit is when you look at like Netflix presents the history of like, I don't know, Adolf Hitler, and then just race swap him with like Kanye West. Which, to be honest with you, wouldn't be too far off the beaten goddamn mark based on what the hell Kanye's been saying the last several months. But ladies and gentlemen, this is just one example of, again, network TV being network TV. To take it so seriously like this is just ultimately bad for your mental health. So all you really can do, ladies and gentlemen, is sit back, relax, and laugh at Netflix, okay? Which I think is the healthiest thing to do. So honestly, I'm going to recommend that you watch this show, okay? Put some Tears of the Kingdom, keep the show on the side, just so when you look over into the corner, you realize that you haven't participated in creating absolute dog shit. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.